Welcome back to the channel. Today I thought we'd try a little something different and talk about some wisdom. And of course, we're going to get it from Bob Marley. Some wise facts by the great Bob Marley. Let's get into it. This first clip is Bob talking about richness. And he's not talking about just money. He's talking about richness in life. Let's hear what he has to say.
Have you made a lot of money out of your music?
Money. I mean, how much is a lot of money to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Have you made, say, millions of dollars?
No.
Are you a rich man?
When you mean rich, what you mean?
You have a lot of possessions, a lot of money in the bank?
Possession make you rich? I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life, forever.
I mean, what a line. My richness is life forever. I mean, how did he come up with that right there on the spot? You know, definitely a deep thinker. Money is just dollar bills, right? You can just, you die with those dollar bills and they go on to your family. And but richness in life, that's what immortalizes you. It seems these days people are very attached to the money that they have, you know, that the stature kind of creates who they are. How much money, how many dollars do you have in the bank? How many zeros do you have? And that last line definitely goes against that. I loved how he kind of flipped the tables on this interviewer and kind of, you know, the guy's asking about his financial status, you know, kind of a question that you don't really ask somebody. And he just kind of turns the table on the guy without flinching. He asks him, "Are you a rich man?" And Bob goes not to bank accounts, not to dollars, not to zeros. He goes to the other definition of rich. Let's give a listen.
Are you a rich man?
When you mean rich, what you mean?
You have a lot of possessions, a lot of money in the bank?
Possession make you rich?
He asks him, possessions make you rich? Kind of the interplay between the interviewer and Bob is very interesting in this interview. He was definitely challenging the interviewee and kind of asking him to think outside of the box. In this next clip from Bob Marley's New Zealand interview in 1979, he's talking about what it means to be a Rastafari and how marijuana plays a role in it. He calls it herb.
Against men who won't crave because them crave for the things like several and them have some material things and them want to captivate your mind until you say, well, you have to work and put you on pension. And him keep it all. So herb make you look for yourself and instead of you want to work for the man, you want to be one of the man too. Not in the sense of how him is, but in the sense of why should you have to bow to these things.
So it's very interesting how he's speaking about how the herb will make you rebel. He kind of definitely had a thought about what role it played in being a Rastafari. The whole discussion of being the man and working toward a pension and having all those material possessions was definitely something that seemed to weigh heavy on his mind. And definitely the herb kind of alleviated that. So the interviewee goes on to push on a little bit further and delve deeper into the conversation and asks him, do you have to smoke to be a... So Bob definitely had a way of thinking about how marijuana helped to improve his life. It gave you a way to make everything else kind of melt away. And it gave you a way for him to think with the worries of everything passing by, the leaves, the trees, the boats. It gave him a way to escape all that and to think free.
Herb is a thing that give you a little time for yourself so you can live, if you use it.
What about alcohol?
Alcohol make you drunk, man. It don't make you meditate, it just make you drunk. When you drink alcohol, you don't meditate. You're more get-headed. Herb is more a consciousness.
So what is interesting, he asked him about alcohol. And he pushed back and said, you know, alcohol just gets you drunk, whereas herb allows you to meditate. So it was kind of interesting to hear him say that herb is more of a consciousness. Obviously, you drink to alter your consciousness, you smoke to alter your consciousness, but this is 1979 when he's talking about this. You know, people weren't thinking about smoking marijuana and altering their consciousness, probably. You know, this was kind of a term that came about later. People looked into it and, you know, how it affected your brain and how it altered your consciousness. But then this had happened in 1979. He was kind of thinking way beyond his years. And in this next clip, he goes on to talk about consciousness and how it involves his music. And the interviewer asks him how he describes his music.
How do you describe your music?
We describe our music as a road to consciousness, you know?
Yeah.
So, regardless which label people might call it, we're satisfied with any label, but we call it music still, you know? Revolutionary music.
Revolutionary in what respect?
Revolutionary of the mind, you know, bring the reality of what has been hidden from the wise and the prudent to the babe and the suckling.
So again, he's talking about his road to consciousness and how his music was a revolutionary state. He was starting a revolution with his music, opening people's eyes to what the government was doing.
Revolutionary of the mind, you know, bring the reality of what has been hidden from the wise and the prudent to the babe.
So he's talking about a revolution of the mind and opening people's eyes to what has been hidden. He had this kind of thought that the government was hiding things. People were needing to be discovered. There was a new way of life, and his music was that road to this new consciousness. In this next clip, the reporter asks Bob if the 1980s are going to be a hard time for black people around the world. I just loved how Bob was so free to answer questions. You know, he didn't really flinch when tough topics came up. He just addressed them as they came. This was 1979 when he did this interview, and he's talking about deep stuff, you know, what the future will hold. And here's what he had to say.
The 1980s is going to be a particularly hard time for black people around the world.
Well, you see, black people only have to make up their mind who them is, you know. And the problem is all over because through lack of unity, we get pressure and oppression, seeing. So, if I know who, as you would call black people, know myself as Rasta, then, you know, there's a different thing that is altogether what he really is. And what he is, then no man can fight what he is. Because, you know, we are dealing with God.
So I loved how eloquent he was in his response, you know, that a lack of unity will lead to oppression. You know, oppression will be oppression. He goes on to say that if you align yourself with the Rasta life, you're just dealing with God. So it was definitely a revolutionary way of thinking on his road to consciousness, to alter your consciousness to a new way of thinking. It was very obvious that he knew he was going to be oppressed. Oppression was going to continue through the 1980s. He was aware of that. But he was on this road to consciousness, to alter the consciousness, starting his revolution using his music, using his way of thinking, and all that he had to deal with in the end was what God thought about him. In this next clip, he's talking about how he's dealing with something higher, something more. Let's give a listen.
Deal with, you know, is something higher. I mean, it's not what we are dealing with. The reality of what's going to happen is something higher than man's own personal little vexation and pride self. This is something where no man can stop because all nation are going to gather and all nation are going to say, yes, I'm right. And some plenty will die, you know. But there is the people who did it, who want it and know says to them one, which is the truth, the right to live, you know, which when you check the right to live is to have the right vibe come from Rasta.
So again, he was very real about it, you know, it was the Rastafari life. He was aware that there was a different way to live, and he says there, plenty will die. It's pretty harsh to know that he was aware that people will die. He was okay with that. He knew that there was a different vibe, a different way to live life, and people will accept that. He knew his people were ready for this revolution. He knew that they were ready to think about things in a new way, a new vibe, a new road to consciousness, and he was okay with that.
You know, but there is the people who did it who want it and know says to them one, which is the truth, the right to live. You know, which when you check the right to live is to have the right vibe. The right vibe come from Rasta.
So as you head out through your day, remember these last words by Bob. Possessions don't make you rich. Here's what he had to say.
Rich? I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life forever.
If you enjoyed today's video on Bob Marley, don't forget to hit that subscription button and get in that comments section. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you on the next one.